I'd now like to bring up René Lacerte, someone who you all know well because he's spent his whole career building solutions for the profession, for firms, for members in business and industry. He initially built out PayCycle, which was one of the first online payroll companies, and that was sold to Intuit, and it basically is the platform that Intuit provides their payroll service on today. And then he founded Bill.com in 2006, and really helped us build out the client advisory services area. The outsourced accounting services movement started then with the cloud, moved to cloud accounting, cloud bill payment. And here we are today, René, and we're in another massive inflection point. We're going to get into it, but just welcome. It's great to have you here with us.
It's great to be here, Eric. Always good to talk to you and the members of the ICPA. And hard to believe that, you and I have been doing this now for over 2 decades, working together. And we've seen a couple of things. So happy to talk about AI and what that means for everybody out there.
Yeah, that's well said. And we are in a moment here related to what's happening with these Gen AI capabilities. Everyone's calling it now, the AI model companies. And one thing I was thinking about, René, coming into our discussion today, is that to go fast, you need to go slow. I mean, it's happening so fast, but it's important for the firms, members in business and industry, to take a little bit of a step back. And in particular, because when you look at what has happened we talked a little bit about this a few town halls ago, but it's dramatic what's happened over the past 100 days. The new capabilities in particular, what Anthropic Claude is offering to the enterprise environment is remarkable. And it's in some ways, it's almost good to be a second mover right now, because the first couple of years of the Gen AI movement, the models weren't as good as they are today. And what I'm seeing right now, and I talk to companies that are supporting all areas of the practice, the audit area, the tax, the accounting services area, is everybody is integrating this. So everyone's integrating the models into their platforms, and it's exciting, but it's daunting as well, because things are moving so fast. But so this, you've been in technology your whole career here. Your comments on like the last 6 months and last 3 years with this Gen AI movement.
Really great setup, Eric. I mean, everything that has changed because of AI is because of the models. There's an acronym that some of you probably heard, some of you probably use them, called MCP, stands for Model Context Protocol. What that does is it actually eliminates the need for any structure around the data flow that happens between systems. So if you think about unstructured data becomes structured, that simplifies how we might connect to all the other systems that are part of every one of the firm's businesses and their clients. Like, it's a lot of stuff that has to be connected. It's a lot of stuff that the individuals are connecting behind the scenes and making sure that all the data is where it needs to be. So just to give you an example of this, yesterday I was feeling somewhat, annoyed about like not being able to keep track of all the things that I asked people to do. In about 10 minutes, I created an agent that reads all of my email and reads all of my Slacks every day, and actually creates a list of things that I've asked people to respond back on. And I woke up this morning and that list was there. There were 5 things I hadn't heard back on. Think about that efficiency. I'm not worrying and wondering where things are. And it's because of this ability to take unstructured and make it structured. And so in my experience, when you ask that context, like, I've been doing this, I've worked with EDI, I've worked with lots of APIs over the years. That stuff is hard because the structured was required to be perfect in order for the data to flow. And that's not true anymore, right? The unstructured to structured is a huge game changer. And that's why people want to integrate. It's why things are accelerating. It's why the models are learning and getting better at taking that unstructured to structured approach. And it's something that I think all of us need to be thinking about, because that has accelerated. I do think you should be running in some respects, but you should also be very thoughtful. Don't just randomly run somewhere. Like, be thoughtful about what it is that you want AI to do for you and your firm.
Well, René, there's a lot of discussion going on about, like, what you just, you used one of the models to do that agentic task for you to help better manage your inbox. But there's a discussion going on, when do you use So when is it going to be a vertical solution provider that's doing something? A vertical solution provider, it could be someone like you in the bill payment space, someone operating in the general ledger space, in the tax arena, some specialty capabilities. And when will the models be the right tool to use? I mean, and I think everybody's seeing the capability of Anthropic Claude and the models on things like creating PowerPoints and documents and doing other things like efficiency gains that you just described. But how do you think about that, the vertical play versus leveraging a horizontal AI model?
Yeah, so I think I believe in software. I believe in the process of writing software. I think it takes expertise and commitment and and just a nonstop focus on actually executing on a vision. And so I think the verticalization of those applications, that's still going to happen. I think AI is going to enable more software right now. It's also, and that's the case, if it enables more, there's going to be more of a need for this MCP protocol layer that connects all the different packages that people have. So I think if there's something, like if you're comfortable and if there's something that you can build for yourself, like I just did, like that's kind of a simple hack. If there was if it was built inside of my email Slack integrations already, I would use that because there's going to be improvements, right? The dedication. If I think about what we do at Bill, like we care about one thing, which is eliminating friction for SMBs and accountants that are served by them, right? Like that friction is real. We wake up every day. We hear about it from close to 10,000 accounting firms, hundreds of thousands of businesses. We hear every day about all the friction that people have with their financial operations. Well, all of that funnels into our team that we're then able to make a better solution. So company A or accountant B may not even know that there's a friction point that they're experiencing because they don't know how to codify it. But we're going to fix that. And so I think it's going to be really depending on how folks are thinking about how important the task is. And when it comes to some, deep things around operations, I think people should be looking for the vertical solutions, kind of like, what we're focused on automating financial operations and, using the AI capabilities for their research, for the stuff that's not yet been done for them for their own efficiency inside the firm.
Yeah, well, thanks for that perspective. And I think there's systems of records in the accounting arena, in the tax arena, in the audit arena, where you really want to be very, very careful with the data sets and how you're doing the configuration and how you're working those processes. This kind of highlights three big things that these new Gen AI tools are doing. I mean, it's driving further automation. And one thing, there's questions coming in about costs. You don't always want to use a model company to do everything related to automation because it can be expensive. So yeah, that's what's going to be. Microsoft just came in and told a bunch of their engineers they got to pull back, or some employees they got to pull back their use of some of the models just because of the token cost. So automation, though, is clearly something that the AI is doing. Detection, the ability to kind of look at massive data sets, find anomalies, drifts and KPIs. And then you just kind of brought this point up, this querying of unstructured data and kind of, bringing kind of, real summaries and actionable steps or just insights that you can leverage. So why don't you talk a little bit about how you see these three areas, and even address that cost question, which people aren't really getting their arms around yet, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, the cost one, maybe that's the easiest one to address. Like, I mean, we're all accountants here, have a budget, make sure people don't go over it, right? You need to have one because it can run away from you. And that's something that we have heard from businesses and you see it in the industry. So I would just make sure you have a budget, make sure that, and you will find that some folks on your team are very good with the AI tools. They manage their budget, they get way more efficiency, and others will be less good. And so just like any other tool inside the firm, you're going to need to kind of manage that. So be paying attention. I think, in general, like how to, continue this conversation on how to use it. Like there are many tasks that are kind of repetitive, they're mundane. And that's something that actually limits the capability of the expertise to come out from everybody that's on this call. Like we don't all go to school and then go do our jobs to actually just push paper all day, right? We go because we want to impact the clients we work with. We want to have a difference, make a difference for our firms. And so if we can use AI to actually enable us to have more time to be strategic, to be creative, like that's the power. And that's what we see. So, we talk about actually moving to AI native. So if you were to actually inside your firm stop and say, if I could do everything over again, what would I do with the AI capabilities that are out? That's a really good question to ask. It's what we're doing at Bill. We're actually making a significant shift in how we think about building the solutions that we build for accountants. And that's going to be because we believe AI is going to actually do a lot more on this mundane layer. And so this approach, I think, is really important that, folks be very thoughtful about, what it is that they want to shift away, where they can leverage their expertise. I think one of the examples that I've, shared recently, going back to college, like, when I was in college, getting the B was 20% of the work. Getting the A was 80%. And so when you get back to these models, just thinking about this, like, we're going to get to B very quickly with these models. But the accountant, that's what's going to make the experience for the client an A. And that's the expertise. And by the way, that's going to shift. Like, as time goes on, we're going to see that, the models will be able to do more. But then your expertise will get more refined and better, right? That's what I believe. I think it's going to be an unlock for creativity and expertise. And it's going to make work far more interesting when folks are able to do the things they love versus the things they really can't stand.
Yeah, well, Renee, what's going to be coming out over the next couple of weeks when we're on the floor, exhibit floor of Engage, and we're in the sessions, you're going to hear announcements about basically the automation of the tax return, the automation of bookkeeping, the automation of the close, and these are all of those things are happening, and then there's going to be a lot of concerns about, okay, what does this mean? And I think even the session that we have coming up with Kim Blasco, it's going to mean evolution of your people strategies, evolution of your business and process strategies as you leverage these technologies. One thing that we do know is that the outsourcing of this work to firms is going to continue because it's actually more complex to put together all of these capabilities today than it was yesterday. So the small businesses or the individuals, they're going to be like, I would like someone else to do this for me. Great, you're automating it, and give me the insights.
100%. And I think the asset that we focus on, that I think every accounting firm has, is trust. Trust is not something that comes out of thin air. Trust is something that you build over time with the expertise that you have, with the relationships that you build. And that trust matters. I mean, you think about this for Bill last year, we had over 8 million fraud attempts. We stopped them all because of our technology. And that's something our clients don't have to worry about. The firms don't have to worry about. So ultimately, trust is going to be the ultimate moat. And I think that's something that firms should feel very good about, that they have these trusted relationships that, like you just pointed out, the firms need to pull together the capabilities and help the clients understand what it is that they can do from an efficiency perspective, because the client wants to get back to making pizza or, building a house or whatever it is that they do. They don't want to be doing financial operations. They don't want to be doing taxes. They don't want to be doing payroll. They don't want that. They want to actually get back to their creative passion. So I think trust is going to be a key thing here. It's one of the things, and why I've always been a huge fan of the accounting profession and a huge supporter, is because trust is essential to every piece of work that the accountants in this country do.
And there's questions coming in, about when should they leverage solutions versus doing building. And you started up that example, say, go build something. I think it's always good. It's always good to experiment and to see the power. We've got a lot of members of our team here that are building their PowerPoint presentations using Claude now, and that's excellent. But I think let the solution providers lead too, because if you looked at some people building off of OpenAI, ChatGPT 3 years ago, that it was good as an experimentation. But now you've got these other models that are moving faster, and we'll see. There might be another model company that then leapfrogs and does something that's really unique for our category. So I think the solution providers do have an advantage to help the firms.
Absolutely. And I think one area to focus on from a building perspective with AI inside the firm is, if there are not tools out there that you need to be able to move your practice forward, that's a good example of something to build. Now, if you're going to invest, a tremendous amount, you should make sure that it's something that you want to invest for a long time, because having built software, once you build something, you're always supporting it. It takes time to support. It grows. People have things they need. So I would probably ask that question. But if it's something that's likely to get built by others, I would work with your partners. I mean, every one of the firms here has relationships with their with their providers, if you will. And so like work with people like us, like Bill, and say, this is what we need to get more efficiency. And we're going to do it. Like, we're in the business of making software, we're in the business of making it easier for you. And we are going to continue to put our people, and we have thousands of people behind making this easier for folks. That's going to be true with every software provider out there. So I think that's the distinction. If there's nothing in the market today that could help you, I think it's probably good to play with. And so I think that's a good way to think about it.
Renee, on this slide here, sorry, a little frog in my voice there. This was some data you recently produced.
Yeah, we just did a survey to find out, and I think what this shows is, accountants are leaning in. They want to do more with AI. They have, their ambitions are high, 87%. What we do see is they're kind of, in those people that are really high on it, there's kind of two categories: ones that are trying to transform their firm practice, and the others that are optimizing. So you can see the percentages there, 40 and 53%. But what I will tell you is that the firms that are actually transforming, putting additional effort, they're probably putting in 20% of the time, into this. They're actually seeing much stronger outcomes. And so, they're 1.5 to 2 times more likely to get meaningful progress. That's what we see in the survey. And so I think the client responsiveness is better. It's probably 34% versus 22%. So all these things are just saying, look, this is something that if you care about your practice, you want to take advantage of technology to actually go do what you really want to do, which is to serve and advise clients, then you need to embrace the technology. You need to figure out how it's going to be a part of your practice, not just, 5 years from now, but how it's going to be a part today. And I think, one of the things that maybe I'll just, leave from a recent talk that I attended with a Stanford economist, all this, this thread about AI, there's plenty of people, you've heard about the SaaScopolis, you've heard about people saying it's going to eliminate all the white collar jobs. And he went through all the data, and there's been multiple transformations in the US economy over the last 200 years. All of them had a massive start, and then ultimately, it slowed down. And his argument was that there's always a weak link. Things can only go so far, and that the people that actually are the weak link have the most value. And so the reason I'm bringing up this example is I think the expertise that accountants have, that will become the weak link. That's the thing you have to enable to shine, because it is that expertise, that knowledge, and you build expertise across your clients, across time, across industries. Like, that is something that's very hard, across relationships that you have. All these things lead to a different opportunity to serve your client, and that becomes the weak link in the system. Yeah, everything else gets automated, but your expertise can't be automated. That expertise is going to be the differentiator in the future. And so I think it's really important to make sure that we as a profession continue to work on whatever that expertise is. And so it's something I'm passionate about, and something I feel really strongly that we have opportunities there.
Well, Renee, that was a fantastic summary there. So look forward to having you back on a town hall sometime soon. Look forward to having your team at Engage. So thank you very much, and look forward to continuing this discussion.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Eric, for having me. And just to sum it up, it's go time, people. Let's make it happen.